Terence Bud Crawford gets duped and falls for a fake Errol Spence imposter tweet on social media. And then he responds to the real Errol Spence Jr. We're going to talk about that in this video. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let's jump right into it. Smash the like button, share the video, subscribe. Now, you see this tweet. This is like, I guess, some Photoshop. And long story short, Terence Bud Crawford fell for this. Somebody online created this, to create tension or, exacerbate or instigate the rivalry between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. And maybe they weren't getting closer to the fight fast enough, so they decided to take matters into their own hand. So what you see on the screen is like a fake Errol Spence Photoshop. Like Errol Spence didn't tweet this. It says, "Man, talking all that ish on social media, but you won't answer the phone. Red flags." Everybody's doing the red flags meme. So that's basically the nature of it. Let me see there. I think that's a little bit better for you guys to see. So it says, talking all that ish on social media, but you won't answer your phone. Red flag, crying emoji. Now, I've been online making money for several years. And one thing I will say is it's a bit bizarre that Crawford would fall for this. Just because if you're online, especially a celebrity or anything, and you see a tweet like this, like for me, I could tell right off rip that it's a fake. Like just to give you guys some things that I look at, because I get in my email even, I get people trying to scam. So I got to be on my P's and Q's. So I spend a lot of time, and my business is all online. You see what I'm saying? So I spend a lot of time. Sometimes people have these wonderful offers and they say, hey, we want you to work with our company. We work with Under Armour or something. And I got to determine or decipher if this brand deal is legit, right? So I'm pretty good at spotting the fakes. And it's just like someone who runs a liquor store. And after working there so long, you can tell who has a fake ID. But I could tell this is not the real Errol Spence Jr. because one, you have to just look at the jargon. I mean, it didn't look like something that Errol Spence would randomly say, man, you talking all that ish on social media, blah, blah, blah. But here, other telltale signs is it's his verified page and it looks like his Twitter, but then you look at the bottom, there's no likes, there's no comments, and there's no shares. And then this bottom part looks like Facebook. So these aren't even the same, like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. They all have their own looks, if you will. They all have their own features. Like on Twitter, you can retweet. On Facebook, you can like, you double tap at the heart on Instagram, etc. So this is not even the same platform. The bottom, again, you making these emojis and throwing a like, that looks like Facebook versus the profile pic and the verified check mark in that same exact username. That's all his Twitter stuff. And there's no likes, comments. So clearly somebody made this up. But ironically enough, Terence Crawford fell for it, right? And you see that he posted at, let's see the time, 5:58. What? I missed somebody said what? Who said they did what? So you could look at the time at 5:58 p.m. Fans must have been buzzing for Bud to, respond. And it looks like between Bud and boxing fans, people were all duped about this particular tweet, that I just showed you. So 5:58. Then Bud Crawford so he got wind of this, right? What the heck? What just happened? Oh, wow. Why did it change though? That's crazy. So let's try this again. Bud Crawford at 5:58 said, "What did I miss?" Somebody said, "What, huh?" And people must have informed him of this fake tweet, but they probably didn't warn him, hey, it's a fake tweet. So 5:58. Then he responds minutes later at 6:02 p.m., same date and everything, on his iPhone to the real Errol Spence. The reason I know this is because you can click on it, right? Which we'll get to in a second. He says, and I will highlight it for you in pink, Errol Spence, man, you lying saying you called me out? Don't do that. That's a bad look when you lie to the people. So minutes later, Terence Crawford responds to this felonious, imposter account, and he responds to the real Errol Spence. Now, to me, that's kind of a bad look. Now, I understand that fans probably try to put fuel on the fire and instigate this, but as a celebrity and a celebrity athlete such as Bud Crawford, I feel like it's just too easy to fall for the okie doke. For example, I'll give you an example for me. There's been times where I've seen the most heinous headlines, right? All kinds of stuff like Usher gets in a car wreck, or this celebrity passes. And I'm like, hell no, not Usher, you know what I mean? And then I go on Google, the first, because I make money online, so I know how the game goes. So the first thing that I personally do is when I hear something crazy, when it says, when I first heard Prince died, the artist, rest in peace. I heard the artist formerly known as Prince died. I was on Twitter. That's when I first seen it. But me being experienced with the internet, when I heard that, I was like, nah, this can't be true. Not my dog Prince. You know what I mean? And then the first thing I do is look for a credible source. Like I go to Google and I'm like, oh, CNN said it's true. Okay, so TMZ, CNN, ABC, my local news station. And then they're saying dates and times. I'm like, oh, man. So that's how I know. So me being experienced online, I don't really fall for these because I get them all the time, like fake brand deals. I mean, I remember when when Fury said he was going to fight Anthony Joshua, right? And old media was running with this saying, oh, Anthony Joshua, Fury, Saudi Arabia, the biggest fight in British boxing history. Yeah. Right. And Wilder had Tyson Fury in an arbitration at that same given time. He had him in an arbitration like, you owe me a second fight. And I told you guys, be patient, wait. And I'm not rocking with none of these interviews that are suggesting otherwise when a man has another man in litigation or any type of court proceeding or mediation. Fast forward to the future, Wilder won his case and we got a third fight, an excellent fight of the year type of fight from that. But during that time, I seen a lot of people and they were coming out with all types of fake news. There was reports, I seen them on Twitter, right? And the Twitter page had this tweet and it looked like it was from Wilder. And it said, Deontay Wilder, I'm going to take some step aside money to allow Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight or something like that. And I'm like, how is he in the middle of just common sense stuff? I'm like, how is Wilder in the middle of a legal proceeding and he's fighting in court in a mediation arbitration process to get the Fury fight, but then he's just going to randomly tweet that he's going to take step aside money, $10 million to allow Fury. So I was like, that doesn't even sound right. So the point I'm making is a lot of times online, because I know so many people fall for it. Like I get texts sometimes and it's like, oh, your AT&T new phone, free iPhone is here, click here. Don't click none of that. That's all spam. That's people phishing, all that, oh, you won the Costco sweepstakes. And then if you're thinking in your head, you're like, man, I don't even have an active Costco membership. How'd I win the sweepstakes? It's a trap. So lesson learned. I really don't see how Terence Crawford, fell for this, because as soon as I heard people online, they were saying like Errol Spence had this shocking, I am boxing. Like Floyd said, I am boxing. So I feel like anything in the world of boxing, like the King of New York, Christopher Walken said, nothing goes down unless I'm involved. So I'm like, how did Errol Spence finally respond to Terence Crawford with something super spicy and I ain't heard nothing about it? People hit me up as soon as like when Pacquiao announced he was fighting Errol Spence, my DMs blew up. My cell phone blew up. So that's usually the reaction. So the fact that this was late in the day and Terence Crawford was like, who said what? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is he talking about? This was like 6:02 my time. And I looked at it. I'm like, what does he say? And then minutes later, he's like, Errol, you lying on me. You saying you called me? And I'm like, what the heck? So the first thing I do naturally is go to Errol Spence's page. And then I looked, I'm like, last thing he did is retweeted what Gervonta said to Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia on Sunday, right? So I'm like, what? Did it, like, you know what I'm saying? Did he delete it? Because I didn't see nothing. You know, I look, so on Twitter, you got to go through tweets and you got to go to tweets and replies and look through them, right? And he doesn't even really have that many posts. So I'm like, I don't know what people are talking about. And then I looked finally a little bit later in the comment section and I seen that he was duped, you know? He was duped by this kind of thing. So to me, it kind of looks bad. Terence Crawford, he's been like passive aggressive. 1 minute he says the Errol fight ain't never gonna happen. I don't care. I'm over it. I'm past it. We'll see what's next for me. You know, things like that. And then the next minute he says like, I'm bigger than Errol. Errol need me. I don't need him. And then he's like in the ocean saying, Errol, where you at? Calling him out of his name. And everyone's seen the video. I posted the video on my channel. And then, you know, this is in the succession of back-to-back days. He did that element, like the call out in the ocean. And then after they had basically an IBF eliminator on Showtime over the weekend on that card with Brandon Lee and Nonito Donaire, the guy Crowley upsets Abu Kakarov to become really the IBF mandatory for welterweight and take Abu Kakarov's place. Terence Crawford, he went to his social media and he said, oh, IBF, please make me the mandatory. And I'm like, huh? Why would a champion become the mandatory? You know? I'm like, why would the champion become a mandatory? When, like, why would they switch the rules and things like that? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, and then now you have Bud Crawford, who's so anxious, I guess, to get the fight. And now in free agency, he's responding to a clone fake Errol Spence account. You know, I don't know that any of these things get him closer to the fight. You guys let me know what you think. I told you, I'm on record, I believe Errol Spence Ugas is happening next, and it's a significant fight. It's a meaningful fight. To me, Ugas had more of a complete performance. Terence Crawford closed the show very well with Sean Porter, and it became the first to stop Sean Porter. So, you know, he gets props there. But even his team said he was down in that particular fight versus Ugas on 11 days notice, looked very sharp and beat a certain Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying that Sean Porter's not a Hall of Famer, but we know for a fact that Manny Pacquiao is. And Ugas was like the southpaw killer, real surgical. I didn't really give Pacquiao that many rounds. So I think he had more of a sharp performance. And again, like I said, no matter what Crawford says in his calls outs, the Errol Spence fighting somebody who's also advised by Al Heyman, who has a belt, who's coming off a sensational performance, retiring Manny Pacquiao. I want to stop to do. That's a hell of a time to make the fight, and it's easier to facilitate. And I think that's what's gonna happen. Some people think, oh, Stanionis and all that stuff in the news. At the end of the day, we'll see. But, you know, to wrap it up, Terence Crawford, he just said Errol was lying, but Errol's not lying. Look, someone even said it. He says it was a fake tweet. So the fans were able to, you know, spot the fraudulent tweet, but for whatever reason, Crawford looked at it and, you know, used it and thought that Errol Spence was saying something. And I told you, Errol Spence has been low, you know? Errol Spence is kind of a quiet dude. He been low in general. And I think that's because while Terence Crawford is like tweeting this stuff, his team is working on something for 2022. That's what I truly believe. Let me know how you feel in the comment section as always. Oh yeah, also, holidays are near. If you want the headphones, use my link in the description. The Hibernation 5s. Use my link, get them, gaming, lifestyle, everyday headphones. I have me a pair. They got an extra bass mode. Use the link to get, and I'll show you the commercial. Roll the clip, and I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.